Okay. A very good day, everyone. This is Chua Chang Yeong. My matrix number is GS55766. Today, I'm going to present to you my phase 2 urban regeneration in the site of public housing locule. So first of all, I will skip the design statement and move straight to the context, to the concept and the contents of my design to give you a better understanding of my design. Okay, first of all, initially in 19th, the community moved from Petaling Street to the site due to the overcrowded, and then they start to form the business and accommodation there. Then very quickly, there are more shops being developed along the Jalan Kenanga with come of more population. Then after the Merdeka, the policy of low-cost housing was introduced, and the development in KL city center is being paid attention by the government. And finally, the expansion of the urbanization means there are more low-cost housing, shops, transit station, and shopping malls are built as a result in urban sprawl. So as we can see, the development of the site is very quickly, especially the garment industry, which is so strong and significant since the 20th centuries until today. Now we move into the context studies. I categorize this part into 3 categories, which is the urban form of structures, the socio-economic factors, and the environmental factors. In terms of urban form and structures, we can see that the negative part, our site is actually a substandard sort of district amidst of KL metropolitan regions. So because our site is formed by the low-income communities, hence it's formed a substandard sort of urban fragmentation in KL city amidst of the high-end development, which will result the property value to rise and brings a negative impact for the indigenous residents. For example, the segregation of places and communities or the displacement of the society. But one of good things is that our site is located strategically with the provision of transit station. So our site is strategically located in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, which could support the local economic growth. And also the proposed context can be easily accessible as the transit station is provided within the walking distance and linked to other neighborhood cities. In terms of socio-economic factors, the negative side will be the absence of intergenerational equity and interaction. We can see that the demographic structures of the old is dominant by the old aging society, and secondly, the children. However, the young generation are being forgotten, are being segregated due to the less inclusiveness of program provided. Besides of the intergenerational equity, we also can see that the issue showing the poor interconnectedness between the residential and the commercial zones. So it's not only the young and old, but also the commercial and residential zone. But the good side will be the, as I mentioned before, the unique essence of the economic, which is the garment industry, and the strong community sense. Our site has a unique cultural and historical value of the garment industry. It is the main Muslim clothing wholesale market in Asia and the largest fashion market in Malaysia. Besides that, despite the poor standard of living, the community holds a strong place attachment. Then we move to the environmental factors. The negative side will be the weak pedestrian-oriented walking environment in TOD. So our site has an unfriendly and boresome pedestrian path because the roadway is mainly dedicated for the vehicles. There are less consideration for the pedestrian sensory experience, and also the roadway is very narrow, hence the parking space is insufficient, causing the poor traffic circulation. Besides that, the good side will be the physical facilities, which is fully utilized by the community. We can see that the community there, they use the public facilities well. For example, the pondok, the playground, and etc. Okay. So what can we do to tackle the problem statement here is that I come up with the design intention of culture as instrument of urban regeneration. So rather than designing and selling a new concept, I try to use cultural regeneration process, which is to reveal and discover the authenticity of the site by implanting a new life. At the same time, we respect the indigenous local community. Besides that, this approach is to transform the low-value area into a high-value city branding, and then the local community can simultaneously restore its social pride, revive the local economy, and realize the urban identity, as well as to support the urban growth amidst of the high-end development in KL metropolitan regions. So I could have some things that can help me to catalyze the culture to show its authenticity in terms of local economics, urban identity, and social pride. So the design concept here will be what I apply is that the cultural creative elements as a medium to enhance the cultural richness of the context inside out, and also to encourage the social interconnectedness within the community, which increase the communal cohesion. Okay, so in the big pictures, the cultural creative elements is trying to promote the intergenerational interaction, also to diversify and intensify the activities, which that transform the district into a vibrant node to attract and cohesive with its high-end neighborhood cities, forming a reciprocity among the KL city development. Okay, that will be my intention and the concepts. And now we move to the design development. And the big pictures here showing the summarize of all the small approach. Okay, so the first one, the pedestrian-oriented design streetscape. Because my design is very focusing on the garment industry, so I start the approach here from the garment industry, the blue color. So I'm trying to transform the car-dependent street into a more pedestrian-friendly street to provide a better shopping journey. And also, the residents who are highly transit-dependent, they can actually walk in a more healthier and safer path from the LRT to their house, like outside Lok Yu or Street Sarawak or Street Selangor. But I have zoomed in this part, which the green color show the preservation of service land. I think it's important to reserve the land for service for the loading purpose, because if when during the pandemics, it will be very frequently used for the people to run their business online, you know. So I try to preserve the service zone, so the garment industry, they can transform their economic models during the pandemics, which is to deliver their stuff online. Yeah. The second approach will be the alley regeneration to enhance permeability. So while people walking at a shopping street, the pedestrian shopping street that I mentioned before, so I'm trying to indicate here, the light bulb here is something that drives the users in order to enhance the permeability. So when people going in, attracted by this light bulb, they can actually find the other side of the shopping street here to improve the permeability of the shopping experience, and to rewards is something like to rewards the pedestrian, to surprise them. Okay. And then the third one is the connectivity between two zones, the commercial and the residential zone. So how am I going to improve the interconnectedness between the commercial and the residential is that I'm trying to have the shared street, the dotted line here is a shared street. It's kind of giving a metaphor of the sewing, you know, to sew up these two separated pieces into one, to join them together, to allow people to ping pong from the commercial zone to the residential zone easily, to improve the accessibility. Okay, so it's like the metaphor of the sewing to assemble the two parts. Now the fourth one will be the inclusiveness of young creative class to allow intergenerational interaction. So we know that the ground floor of the flat is the commercial area. The people there, they run the cafe, kopitiam, barber shop, stationery shop, and etc. So could we have some program that actually relate to the garment industry? So I'll propose some educational program where the empty shop lots can be utilized by the young people to give them a job opportunities to run a garment related program, which the existing garment industry could be their supplier, and then they can serve and outreach to the schools, the kids, and also the old residents here to improve their skill. Okay, that is my purpose. And then the fifth one, okay, the last one, as you can see, the commercial zone is located inward, is located inside and surrounded by the residential zone at the outer part. Okay, so I'm trying to propose the facade design, facade regeneration, as our residential zone is facing the main street like Jalan Hang Tuah, Jalan Maharaja Rela, and Jalan Samping. So the facade regeneration not only physically improve the um, facade performance, but it also show the identity, the cultural identity inside out. So the site in the big pictures, the site is intersectional nodes of textile industry hub of the Jalan Hang Tuah and the Jalan Maharaja Rela, which connect to other cities. So the intersectional nodes here is what I'm trying to do is that to attract the neighborhood cities like the TRX, the BBCC, the KL118 to our site to as a node for them, okay, as a leisure node, as a textile industry hub to attract these people. So from the approach 1 to the approach 5, it shows inside out approach. You know, which I trying to do is that to bring the cultural identity from inside out. Actually, it is a progressive approach to attract people outside in. Okay, so that's why I start from the inside, go out, and then to attract the people outside in. Okay, then we move. Now we move to the detail of the design proposal. The first one, just now we mentioned about pedestrian-friendly street. So the existing site, the existing context is the street is okay. Our site is located in TOD area, but the existing road site is the roadway is dedicated because of the high mobile dependency, and they are the lacking of pedestrian design consideration. So in the proposal one, I'm trying to, as I mentioned before, is to turn it into a pedestrian-friendly shopping street. Okay. Um, by shifting the parking lane into the car-free zone, which improve the walking safety and comfort for the transit-dependent residents to use, and also to enhance the shopping experience. So the first icon here, this one, showing the opportunities. As I have widened the street, so there are opportunities for the low-income community to run a pop-up stores here, this one. So it could be the government related, or they can be their any others business. So as I mentioned, in strategy 5, actually allow them to learn to have the skill, the educational skill, learn. Yeah. So actually sell Second, the, the third and the fourth one showing the trees and the furniture. Here, side here, the site has less creative approach and boring. Okay, the current site we have some mural art there, but it not really showing their local identity. So what can I do to localize it? So the approach tool will be the art gallery as rewarding pedestrian journey. So the creative approach of a street is more than just moving, which is to turn the streetscape into a vibrant gallery to reward the pedestrian through the intervention of localized art. It means something related to the government, which that the government industry can be their suppliers to install this art installation or shading devices. Okay, this one, the first logo here. And then it also can be a tourist spot to attract people in, as I mentioned before, to increase the permeability, to enhance the permeability of the shopping experience. So when they are going in, they're actually trying to explore beyond this street, so they can find the street behind this street. Then the third one here is the main roads, the main roadway as a barrier between the residential and the commercial zone. The commercial is a blue color one and the residential is a yellow color one. So the road is actually kind of separate them and cause some less interactive community. Besides, there are also the improper allocation of food stalls, causing the narrow and unsafe pedestrian pathway. So as you can see the pictures here, the existing pictures, we can see that they are really dangerous for the pedestrian when they are hunting for food. So trying to turn this into a shared street to connect this commercial zone and the residential zone by blurring the, okay, this one, by blurring the boundaries to maximize connectivity. Okay, the first logo here indicate the implementation of the shared street, which including the signboard, which is to give a notification for the drivers. The distinct texture pavement, which is irregular, and then to give the car drivers also awareness when they are driving on this surface. And then the chicken scheme means the zigzag driving pattern to allow the drivers to drive slowly, and then some guiding tactiles or the corduroy warning paving. The corduroy warning paving means the tiles, this one, when the cars they are exited, they will feel the very irregular surface to give them a warning, okay? And then also reserve the OKU parking and etc. So the second logo here is that I'm trying to improve the food stalls because the current one is very dark. You can see it's very dark and kind of dirty. So I try to change the roof materials into something that should be transparent to bring the lights in to provide more hygiene condition. And then the last icon here showing the extension of the business where the hawkers can put their furnitures outside to extend their business opportunities. So people here can walk safely while hunting for their food. Okay, now I move to approach 4. The approach 4 here. The existing situation is that there are the opportunity to generate new business by utilize the existing vacant shop units at the public housing. Okay, this one, as you can see, there are a lot of empty shop lots can be utilized to run other business. So I come up with the approach that towards collaborative approach to place marketing. The inclusiveness of young artists, creative class, or activist community as the supporting rules of the inner city regeneration, also to deal with the demographic shift and to embody qualities of youthfulness. So the first icon here showing that I'm trying to, as I mentioned, to turn the vacant shop into something like relate to the garment. For example, some fashion studios, sewing studios that teach you about the garment making, etc. And then the garment industry could be their supplier, so they could have some collaborative between these two different zones. Okay. And then, as we can see, the old people here, they tend to gathering on the street, which actually become obstacles on the street. So the second icon here means the gathering points. So the shops, the workshop or studio, etc., could be something for the people, especially the old people who like to gather and chit chat. At the same time, we provide them this place, an indoor space for them to have a proper and more, how to say, a more impact for them to gather rather than just chit chat for nothing. Okay, they can learn how to make the clothes together inside. Okay, so with the third icon here, showing that to improve their skills in order to have some extra monies. At the same time, during the pandemic's time, they can actually turn their skills into something that can contribute to the pandemic. For example, the making of the mask, the protecting mask, or the protecting costume. As I know, the AirAsia themselves, actually, they also have the costume that trying to protect against the virus. So there are a lot of things relate between the pandemic and the government. So I think these skills is very important for them, not only to earn some extra monies, but also, could be something useful during pandemic. Okay, then we move to the fifth approach. The poor image and quality of public housing facade. Well, there are some cases there. The external walls of the public housing units blown off after hailstorm. Here, the pictures here, showing that the facades is actually drops during the heavy storm. It's very dangerous and very poor image, a poor performance. Besides that, as I mentioned before, the garment commercial zone are located in the inner area, surrounded by the low-cost residential zone, which facing the main roads. So the commercial zone is located very inner part and then surrounded by this residential zone. What we can do to actually bring out the cultural identity inside out is that I'm trying to have this upgrading housing facade to showcase identity. The opportunity for the housing facade to showcase its regional identity, as well as because all the public housing are facing the busy main roads. So the first icon here showing that we could actually improve the performance of the facade by implement something relate to the garment industry, and then the textile could be something to filter the noise pollution. Besides that, we know that the residents love to plants. So we could have some vertical farmings or some balcony farmings area for them to produce their food, especially during the pandemic times. So that will be all for my design. And okay, this one is actually show the literature review, which I got from the cultural-led urban regeneration strategy by these people. Okay, it shows that the strategies of the cultural regeneration strategies, including four dimensions: the localization and revitalization, the community collaboration, the creative and innovative energy, and business management. So actually, I have applied all of these into the 5 approach that I mentioned before. So the first one we mentioned about some extra pop-up stores and the streetscape design, the trees and furniture. So it's about the business management, and also we also mentioned about the extension of the retails outreach to the street. Okay. And then the second part, we mentioned about the art gallery as a to enhance the permeability of the shopping street with the use of the garment and extra associating device or tourist spot. Is about the localization and revitalization. And then the third part, we mentioned about the shared street that connect the commercial and the residential zone. It is about the creative and innovative. Okay, the creative and innovative kind of interdisciplinary exchange. Okay, and then the fourth one we mentioned about how we use the weekend shop as a studio, as a garment studio, fashion workshop for the old people. Okay, so it's about the community collaborative between the young generation and the young generation and the residents, and also the collaborative between the young creative class and the commercial zone as a supplier. Okay, so the fifth one we mentioned about the facade improvement to improve the performance and bring out the identity to showcase to outreach the identity. Okay, it's about the localization and revitalization. So yeah, that's all for my design, and these are some case studies you can go through. Is Yep, that's it. Thank you.